and I was here, I believe in the same room, introducing the retrospective of Michael Powell and Powell and Pressburger films. At that time, there were 34 films that were being presented, and it was being touted that 4 of them were finally complete: Like a Letter, Colonel Flynn, Canterbury Tales, Small Back Room, and Gone to Earth. And why it was really interesting because there was only 4. There were more to be completed, but tonight we opened the retrospective with Black Narcissus and 50 films. 50 films all complete and restored. And I have to thank Dave Carr from MoMA, Olivia Perdite, and Sean Egan from MoMA. I got to remember Mary Lee Andy, who was here at that time. Of course, it's just wonderful work here and with that retrospective from the film. Robin Baker, the BFI, and everybody who inspired this the BFI. So tonight begins the 50 films, all completely restored. And you have to, it's a big deal because you have to understand it's really a great achievement. And I'll give you a couple of examples of the way we saw these films. Aside from the red shoes, keep the red shoes separate, everybody saw that. But also, the red shoes, even on Christmas Eve, you were shown on television, but in black and white. If you hadn't seen it in the theater, well, too bad. But to give you an idea of the examples of the way you see these pictures, just take A Matter of Life and Death, for example, which was retitled Stairway to Heaven in America because the word death and the title of World War II was so great. In any event, there was an award given to Michael Powell at Telluride in 1977 when I was there. And they were showing the 2 of the films. If you want to see a complete version of A Matter of Life and Death, they have to show a 35 millimeter of Stairway to Heaven, which had sequences cut out. Now, when the deleted scenes came up, what they did was switched over to a 16 millimeter projector, and you could see the difference. And that had the sequence in it that was supposed to be there, etc. Now, if you're going to show this at home, I had a tape, a VHS of Matter of Life and Death, half-inch, and I had a 3/4 inch of the complete, a tape of Stairway to Heaven, half-inch, the edited version, beautiful color, but VHS. Then I had also a 3/4 inch video of A Matter of Life and Death, the complete version. So in order to see the complete version, you have to show first the half-inch, then at the point at which the scene when it was deleted, you pick up that TV. Then look at that, the 3/4 inch, it was different. You went back to the half-inch. So that was just A Matter of Life and Death. Colonel Flynn was another story altogether. You really saw. I first saw it in black and white on TV, and eventually, I think by the early 80s, here in 1980 apparently, a version was put together that had the right structure to the piece and the missing sections. Tales of Hoffman was, I grew up watching it on Channel 9, a $1 million movie in black and white. Black and white, it's over 2 hours, the film 220 whatever, but it was cut down to 1:30 or whatever, with commercials. It took me until 1965 to see it in color, and it was just a storefront down by those old acres. Stuyvesant Park, the big Stuyvesant Park, the famous area of New York, St. Mark's Place. St. Mark's. We went in and the audience had folding chairs, and we saw 16 millimeter Technicolor of the Tales of Hoffman finally. And by the last story, the last episode was cut out, and people were furious and trying to yell at the guy who ran this makeshift theater. It wasn't even a theater. And he said, that's the current day setting. So we never really saw that in color and complete until the late 70s. There was no Edge of the World. You didn't even see that. No 49 Parallel. Only the red shoes. And as I say, that was shown often, but in black and white. So for me, the Powell films and the Powell Pressburger films really was a great mystery because, I grew up watching American films, of course, and Italian films from the post-war era. but also British films. They were everywhere. And I got to know British films for me were they were part of cinema, complete cinema for me. They were interchangeable in effect. And so I was aware of David Lean, Carol Reed, Hitchcock, Herbert Wilcox, Lance Comfort, Basil Dearden, all these people. I was aware of them. But I noticed on some of these strange films that seemed to be edited in very strange ways, a credit that said written, produced, and directed by Michael Powell and Rick Pressburger. And that shared credit was really intriguing. We wondered, first of all, who did what? Secondly, why haven't I heard of these people before? And I just knew that maybe they made the right shoes, but nothing was really written about Paul Pressburger and all these books by Paul Robeck and some others. I heard from Jay Cox at the time. He said maybe the pseudonyms for other filmmakers. We didn't really know if they existed. There was nothing written on them that we could find. And later I realized this film called Peeping Tom was made by a man named Michael Powell. Was that the same Michael Powell who did the Red Shoes with Rick Pressburger, and the same Michael Powell who was one of the 3 directors of the People Packed in 1941? And it turns out it was. And so this Powell became really intriguing and mysterious and kind of forbidden, because Peeping Tom, the only way you can see Peeping Tom is one guy in LA had a friend, Phil Chamber. He was like a drug dealer. Not kidding. Just giving it time. The only way you can see it. And so by the time I was making Taxi Driver, I was in London, and somehow I saw him out and met Michael Powell. Then I began to understand as we spoke, and I told him about Coppola and Spielberg and Brian De Palma and so many others who adored his films and know who he was and where he was with Henry Pressburger, didn't know how they shared that what they did, told him this story. And that really inspired a whole generation. Then he spoke, and over a period of time, I began to understand that, in a way, very, very strongly, they went out of fashion, of style. The new British cinema had come in, late 50s or 60s, along with the French New Wave, the Italian New Wave, rewriting the cinema language in a way. The British, new British cinema of Tony Richardson and Carol Rice and Lindsay Anderson and Richard Lester, all that. That all became more grounded in the traditional sense of British realism, of John Grierson, that sort of thing. And in a way, it fit with what had happened with England in 1945. The end of the war, out with the old, in with the new, and the old was anything that had artifice to it, I feel. And when you talk about artifice, Michael Powell was raised in the south of France. His father had a hotel there. He worked at the Rex England's Nice Studios on Rex England's silent films, which were very, very Baroque films. Very much of a European sensibility. And then meeting Henry Pressburger, who was Hungarian Jewish, the two of them really hit it off very well. And the word got out that maybe years later, he said, why is anybody talking about them? This was a little too continental at the time. But what they achieved once they started once they started on their road, what they achieved in that 15 and a half years or so, maybe 16 years, was really a remarkable series of masterpieces, I think. And to me, at first it seems like they seem to be like independent filmmakers in a way, but they're also not only independent, making what they wanted, but they seem to be the most experimental filmmakers working within a commercial system in the world, really. They're getting away with things visually, and on the soundtrack, it was quite stunning. When I talk about experimental in the cinema, I mean they didn't forget anything. When the silent films gave way to sound films, the old silent techniques, they used them. They didn't care. Break all the rules, use whatever you want. They had total fearlessness about that. So over the years, we became friends. Within the last 16 years of his life, he was an inspiration, definitely supporting us, really creatively and personally. He was a major influence on aspects of Rage and Bull. Had Thelma call me reading the script. He just read the script of Goodfellas, and I wasn't thinking he was going to make another gangster film. He called him and said, "You do this one. This is very different." And now we've done this filmmaker, and films together since Virgin Bowling before that too. And he also worked at that time at Zoetrope with Francis Coppola, and I helped re-release, I remember in 1980, Peep and Tom. You should be aware of Michael's books, his autobiographies, volumes 1 and 2 of Life and Movies, and Kevin McDonald's book on Rick Pressburger, Life and Death of a Screenwriter, and Ian Christie's beautiful Arrows of Desire, if you want to see these things. So tonight, we're here with the most complete retrospective of Powell films and Powell and Pressburger, and including the latest one that Velma just did, the Bluebeard's Castle. Her work over the years, film's work over the years with Michael's films and Michael Leonard's films has been incalculable in their presence and love given to every perforation. We still try to do as much as possible with, the cellular, but in some cases it's very difficult. These restorations, you can't imagine the amount of time and effort and knowledge and care goes into this. Because very often, there aren't that many people around who know what it looked like originally. And so what have we got to look at? There may be nightly prints somewhere. I don't want to get off. It's very complicated. So you have to really make decisions about, is that the right blue? Is that the right light coming through? That looks too grainy. Maybe that's what it should have been. Should we leave the changeover marks on the picture? Because there are no changeovers anymore. So all of these things come into play, and she's been doing this. The latest one is Bluebeard's Castle. You've got some beautiful work that she did. I mean, here we have, as I say, 50 films. There's only one left, and that is The Queen's Guard. The Queen's Guard, we can't get a lead on for some reason. Fox had it. It's widescreen in color. And a couple of times I spoke with Stephen Steinheim, and he loved Bear Fans. He actually liked The Queen's Guards a lot. We kept talking about that. In any event, we've got to get that one done. Anyway, the retrospective starts with Black Narcissus, and just a few words about it. Again, we only saw this film come in black and white because of the Legion of Decency that went against the picture in terms of nuns in the Himalayas, even though we're Anglican nuns that were offended. Anglicans are different than that. Anyway. It's complicated, but anyway. They didn't go for it. Lou McCartney, who wrote the book, I don't know if she was very happy with it, although we love her. We love the Renoir film, The River, that was based on her book. But in any event, I don't know about her reaction to this one, because it went its own way, and it took off into another realm in this picture. It did win Oscars for Jack Carter's cinematography, which of course is extraordinary. That it looks like they always talk about brush strokes of a painter in a way. And Alfred Jung's incredible production design. I won't say more about that because it's kind of a surprise if you know where it was made in a sense. So looking back, it's been a long, strange trip over the years, going back to the 50s. And tonight, we're beginning the retrospective with the film that I think most expresses what Michael Powell used to say about art. He said, art is the child of sex and religion. Me, the British films, in this picture, it has it right there in the very core of it. The conflict between passion and restraint is all there. The psychosexual energy is there in compositions, in the faces of the nuns, David Farrar, and Sabu, in the face of Gene Simmons, and the color. It's the energy, the psychosexual energy just erupts into the color red, which ultimately seeps through and saturates off-white color of the monastery, of the monastic robes of the nuns. When you get a sense of that later, you would see that the color seems to seep through the frame. This also is important because it was an example of what he was trying to do with something called a composed film. So what they did was Brian Easdale wrote the score, and the music tends to lead the characters' movements in the frame, and also the way they think. Their emotions are led by the music. That doesn't mean the music is scoring how you should feel. It's very different. He's trying to make it a little warmer. So like cinema involves all the arts. And he's trying to get to that pure state where it could be like movement and color. The melodrama or the drama doesn't matter. It's about experiencing this place, this time, and these people. They would play back on the set in some scenes for the actors to move a certain way, play back the music, I think, on the piano track. So in effect, what they wanted to do was melodrama becomes opera, and you'll see that tonight in this beautiful restoration of Black Narcissus. One last thing, Professor, if you can look at. I don't want to repeat myself because too far. There's the documentary that David Hinton did with Thelma, me presenting all this stuff. More in the context of the entire history of Powell and Howard Pressburger. But I always think of their concept of art. And in Red Shoes, the cocktail party sequence at the beginning, where Mara Shearer is supposed to have danced as like a magician for Anthony Bourdain, and refused to be. I'm not going to do that. I came here to have a drink, not to be a magician. So he goes over to get a drink, and there's this beautiful young woman standing there. And they had a few words, and her name is Vicky, and she turns to him, and he says something to the effect of, "We could stare horror of dance tonight." And she goes, "Oh, Mr. Lemontov, I am that." And he's stunned by that. And one word leads to another, and then he looks at her. She has some spirit, he thinks. She knows a little. He looks at her, and ballpark on table, only crew. And then snaps and says, "Why do you want to dance?" And she snaps back, "Why do you want to live?" And that sums it up.